3 officers have been suspended after a video went viral showing them pepper spraying a 9-year-old girl while responding to a report of family trouble. Take a look at the clip.
This is your last chance, otherwise pepper spray's going in your eyeballs. Come on, let's go.
Alright, keep me safe for a minute.
I want my dad. I'm gonna go get him. Now sit back. Come on. I will fix it. I will fix it.
Dear, why, just stop for a second and take a deep breath. Hey, just stop.
Please. I will get your dad.
No, you said that you were gonna pepper spray me. No, please don't stop.
Sit back.
Oh, I got a bad arm.
Just spray her.
No, I have
Just spray her at this point.
Stop.
Dear.
Stop.
I got her. I got her.
Please wipe my eye. Wipe my eye, please.
Governor Andrew Cuomo condemned the officers' actions and said in a statement, this isn't how the police should treat anyone, let alone a 9-year-old girl. So what are your thoughts on this, Dominique?
I mean, as a mom, it just makes you really mad. You know what I mean? They had 6 cop cars there. She's a 9-year-old girl and she's handcuffed. There can be no possible explanation for pepper spraying her. Not to mention, the call is for a family disturbance. The child is suicidal. So you fix it by handcuffing her, sticking her face down in the snow and pepper spraying her. It's amazing. They treated her worse than they treated the insurrectionists at the Capitol. And I just, you know, it's just a great illustration of why we need comprehensive restructuring and reimagining of our law enforcement in this country.
Ed, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, disgusted. You know, this isn't new. This is something we've talked about on the show before, and this is something that we've witnessed. I don't think any of us are surprised that it's a young African American girl. I don't really, you know, frankly, think any of us are surprised that these officers would do this to a 9-year-old girl. It's shocking, but when you think about it, what the officers did, you know, it is a torture. It is, you know, you don't want your officers to be judge, jury, and executioner, but to handcuff someone and then pepper spray them in their eyes is an act of oppression. That is a torture, and you just don't want officers to do that. There's, you know, when I look at and what really makes me mad is the police union's response to this. I still have yet to see the Rochester Police Union come out and just say that what these members of their police force did was wrong. The police union is defending them. They're going to defend them in court. They're going to defend their rights. And that's the most disgusting part about this whole policing in America.
Dr. Oleka, is there any hope for law enforcement to gain the Black community's trust?
Well, there has to be hope because our community needs to be protected by the folks who are supposed to protect and serve. You told us not to get in our feelings on this, Tammy Mack, but this has me more in my feelings more than anything else. I think it's a sad state of affairs that the one thing that can unite us across the Black political spectrum is the disgust of the brutality of our people by law enforcement. This is a shame. This is a travesty. This doesn't have to happen. Dominique mentioned it and mentioned it as well. This young girl was not a threat to anybody. The fact that you heard an officer say, okay, just pepper spray already, it shows a complete disregard for this young girl and who she is and who she could be. And it's a sickening thing to know that this is what's out there in terms of what people believe about us who are supposed to protect and serve. But we do have to have hope that something can happen. I think it is a comprehensive reform of what police officers are asked to do, because without it, our community will continue to be over-policed and underprotected.
But this is why.
Go for it.
But Black people shouldn't have to pay state taxes. This is damn ridiculous. This was a mental health call. How do you show up for a mental health call and pepper spray a 9-year-old in the eyes? The problem is they never see our kids as kids. The officer had a nerve to say, "You're acting like a child." Her response was, "I am a child." He knew he was called for a 9-year-old. Where's the confusion? But they never want to see our kids as kids. And that's really the biggest issue here. And that's why when there's a mental health call and you can't find a mental health professional, you get a bunch of cops, wait for the Black cop, because this group could not do the job. What they did to that child was criminal. And there's no other way to, everybody involved in that should be fired.
Our soulmate Therese says, racist piece of shit. And then, J No Cap Max says, if they're not fired, y'all better riot.
Well, it's also time for us to pass the Breathe Act, right? Or at least the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which already went through the House. And Alicia's right. It's the adultification of our children. Study after study shows that people, because of their unconscious bias or overt racism combined with the systemic racism, they see our kids as older, bigger, and stronger than they really are. That is a classic manifestation of unconscious racism.
Yeah, and I'll say this last piece, which is, you know, yes, there are some good legislative options out there. This is not legislative. This isn't something where I want to see police training for the Rochester police. They don't need more money for training. There's nothing that they need to learn. Those officers need to be prosecuted and thrown in jail. It's just that simple.
One thing a Donald Trump win did was expose all the loopholes and how funky and rotten these systems are. It blew the lid off of it. We know, and it has to be revamped. This stuff is terrible. It's terrible. And that's why I love the fact that the Camden, New Jersey Police Department figured out a way to revamp their entire police department. And that should be the model for other police departments. It's something that can be done. And it has to be done. Stuff is not getting any better. Hasn't gotten any better after the murder of George Floyd.